Welcome to Memento Solis, where we dive into the darkest corners of history to uncover the truth. Today, we're counting down the biggest scandals in U.S. history. From political corruption to corporate deceit, we'll take a look at the most shocking and far-reaching scandals that have rocked the nation. So, let's get started. In the United States of America, where freedom and democracy are supposed to reign supreme, there have been times when the very fabric of our society has been torn apart by corruption, deceit, and betrayal. Scandals that have shaken the foundations of trust and integrity, leaving lasting scars on our collective psyche. From political corruption to corporate deceit, from government malfeasance to financial fraud, we'll be covering it all. These scandals are a reminder that even in the greatest nation on earth, corruption can strike anywhere and anytime. So sit back, relax, and get ready to uncover the most shocking secrets in American history. The Teapot Dome scandal was a major political and corporate scandal in the United States that occurred in the 1920s. It involved the illegal transfer of oil reserves from the United States Navy to private companies, resulting in widespread corruption and abuse of power. In 1921, President Warren G. Harding appointed Interior Secretary Albert Fall to oversee the U.S. Navy's oil reserves. Fall was a former governor of New Mexico and a close friend of President Harding's. In 1922, Fall secretly negotiated a deal with two private oil companies, Harry Sinclair's Mammoth Oil Company and Edward Doheny's Pan American Petroleum Company, to lease U.S. Navy oil reserves in Elk Hills, California, and Teapot Dome, Wyoming. The leases were awarded without public bidding or competitive pricing, and the companies were allowed to drill for oil without paying royalties to the U.S. government. In exchange, Fall received a $400,000 loan from Sinclair and a $100,000 loan from Doheny. In 1924, a newspaper reporter named Charles Kaiser stumbled upon the scandal while investigating a separate story. Kaiser discovered that Fall had sold the leases without authorization and had accepted large sums of money from the companies. The news sparked outrage and led to a federal investigation. In 1927, Fall was indicted on charges of bribery and conspiracy. He was found guilty and sentenced to 1 year in prison and a fine of $100,000. The Teapot Dome scandal led to widespread outrage and calls for reform. It marked the beginning of the end of the Harding administration's popularity and contributed to Harding's death in 1923. The scandal also led to changes in government ethics laws and regulations surrounding oil leasing. The Watergate scandal was a major political scandal in the United States that occurred in the early 1970s, during the presidency of Richard Nixon. It was a complex web of political espionage, bribery, and cover-up that ultimately led to Nixon's resignation from office. In 1972, a group of burglars broke into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. The burglars were hired by President Nixon's re-election campaign, and their goal was to wiretap phones and steal documents to gather information on the Democratic Party's presidential candidate, George McGovern. On June 17, 1972, 5 men were caught breaking into the Watergate complex. The burglars were arrested, and it soon became clear that they were connected to the Nixon re-election campaign. The FBI launched an investigation, and it quickly became apparent that the break-in was just the tip of the iceberg. Nixon and his aides attempted to cover up the scandal by denying any involvement, claiming that they knew nothing about the break-in. However, evidence quickly mounted that high-ranking officials in the White House and the Nixon administration were aware of and involved in the conspiracy. Nixon's resignation on August 9, 1974, marked the end of his presidency. The Iran-Contra affair was a political scandal that occurred in the 1980s, during the presidency of Ronald Reagan. It involved a secret network of officials and private individuals who secretly sold arms to Iran, which was under an economic embargo at the time, and used the profits to fund anti-Sandinista rebels in Nicaragua. In the early 1980s, the United States was involved in a covert war against Nicaragua's socialist government. In 1985, the U.S. government began secretly selling arms to Iran, which was under an arms embargo by the United States at the time. The arms sales were negotiated by Oliver North, a Marine Corps lieutenant colonel who served as a national security advisor to President Reagan. The profits from the arms sales were then used to fund the Contras in Nicaragua. The deal was kept hidden from Congress and the public for several years, leading to accusations of illegal activities and corruption. In November 1986, it was revealed that the U.S. government had sold arms to Iran, and that the profits had been used to fund the Contras. The news sparked a public outcry and led to widespread criticism of President Reagan and his administration. The Enron scandal was a major accounting fraud case that occurred in the early 2000s, involving the energy company Enron Corporation and its accounting firm Arthur Andersen. The scandal led to the bankruptcy of Enron, the indictment and conviction of several top executives, and widespread financial losses for investors and employees. Enron was an energy company based in Houston, Texas, that had grown rapidly in the 1990s through a series of strategic acquisitions and partnerships. The company's stock price had risen significantly, making it one of the most successful companies in the energy industry. In 2001, it was discovered that Enron had engaged in a massive accounting fraud scheme. The scheme was orchestrated by top executives, including CEO Jeffrey Skilling and CFO Andrew Fastow, who used Enron's accounting firm, Arthur Andersen, to help them cook the books. The scandal was uncovered in October 2001 when Enron filed for bankruptcy after its stock price plummeted due to concerns about its financial health. The scandal also led to significant changes in corporate governance practices, including the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. And that's a wrap on our countdown of history's biggest scandals in the U.S. of all time. From Watergate to Iran-Contra, Enron to Teapot Dome, we've covered some of the most shocking and influential scandals to shake the nation. These scandals also serve as important reminders of the importance of accountability, transparency, and the rule of law. So let this video be a reminder to always remain vigilant and question those in power. For only by learning from our past can we build a better future. Thanks for watching our countdown of history's biggest scandals in the U.S. of all time. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more historical content. And if you want to see more scandalous stories, let us know in the comments below.